What up, y'all? It's your girl, sometimes your boy, Charlotte Carolina. We back with another one. And this is crazy to me, bro. And I mean, let's talk about it for a little bit, y'all. Um, Tashawn Lee, if I'm not mistaken, if I am the newscaster, fix that right on up. Eating my top ramen with the chicken and mushroom right now. Um, Apparently 4 years ago, would that be 2016, right? There was some gang violence, and in Chicago, Chirac, by the way, figures, right? No, can't say that. Oops, I just did. Um, there was a young man. He was, I think, 23 years old, or some shit like that. He was in beef with some of the local gang, right? And he supposedly shot the dude's brother and also shot the mom, but the mom ain't died. So for retaliation, they went where they was ganging up on, they were thinking about it and gathering their ideas together, and then they said, okay, we're gonna kill the little boy, trying to bait this nigga out, but they always, because at first they planned to kill his grandmother, and I don't know what happened with that plan. I guess it didn't work too. They passed me that house that's over there. And they went to the basketball court, and the little boy had put down his basketball to get on the swing, and then the guy that was gonna commit the murder, he picked up the basketball, dribbled it a couple of times, and asked the little boy, "Do you want to go to the store?" The little boy said, "Hey, I ain't got no money." He said, "Don't worry about it. I got all the money. You can go ahead and get anything you want." So then he went to the store, and then he lures him to the alleyway and shoots him about 7 times. Basically point blank. And he was facing the little boy. And then he was mocking it when he was in prison, talking about he shot him, and then he saw the little boy's face, and then he couldn't take no more bullets, basically. And now, let's do this on one side. One side we say that's horrific. Another side we say he caught the crossfire. And we can't forget about the truest side of all is when you play in that game, that's what happened. If you're doing gang violence, everybody's involved, not just you. I want everybody young to remember that. And I know you might be looking for a place where you can call home and people can be close to you. You can have that camaraderie. That's your brother, that's your sister. They gonna ride with you. But in actuality, what you're doing is splitting up everybody's family that you with, yours, theirs, and anybody else's. Because of this negative beef, you're around here saying that your brothers, and they're not gonna ride with you because number one, the police is gonna separate y'all and make one of y'all tell on each other, turn on the other, and that's not really gonna work in the end anyway. Now, also check this out. Now, these niggas are gangbanging for no odd reason. You don't know why. And just because you're poor, that doesn't mean you have a bad home life and you need to run towards gangs. And so they get in some stupid beef with niggas across the street over land that they do not own because they're not land owners, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm thinking? Instead of gentrifying the projects, you need to gentrify the gang members, you know what I'm saying? They gotta upgrade their laws. They gotta know that it's no women and children. You could have just popped this nigga randomly right then and there. You feel me? Why you gotta pull him out? And so then you're involving the families that they're with because you're gonna retaliate and shoot anybody that you see. And then the nigga had a nerve to say that he should have went back to the park and shot everybody in the park. to me, that's past gang violence. That's just malicious. Because gang violence, I can understand. You know what I'm saying? They didn't ask to be a part of this. Let me say that, but it's too bad. Because to be honest with you, if you go in there and commit a robbery, and there's some innocent people in there, they got to go. Point blank, because they're going to tell you. And if you in gang violence and you trying to pull a nigga out, bait a nigga, yeah, you might go kill his kid. Let's be real. But the thing is, there's no need to do that in the first place. Why did he shoot your brother and shoot at your mother? Nobody knows the real reason why we're going to keep going back and forth over and over again until everybody's gone. But that's a way for us to kill each other. And we like it anyway, so why do we argue about it? But let's go in this footage, because we can stop this shit. We can put those guns down. What do we need the guns for? We like doing this shit. And blaming it on me, and I wasn't even there. Now let's go. Rest in peace, man. But the little homie, he ain't have nothing to do with it. He was innocent. He was just born into the wrong family. That's all that was.
And convicted of murdering a young boy.
It was a crime that drew national...
Okay, wait, I gotta say this one more time. His dad is 23. He was 9, right? And his grandma looked like she ain't a day over 30. Like, when did they have this kid? Like, he was like 15? Did he have this nigga? Because if he was 23 at his death, and now he would be 27, the father, right? When did they have this kid if he was between 7 and 9? So he had to be at least 15 years old when he had it. No wonder his grandma looked like his mama.
Headlines and put the spotlight on Chicago's problems with gun violence. WGN's Shannon Halligan is live at the courthouse at 26 in California with details.
14?
Family members were inside the courtroom today watching everything that was happening, and 4 years after the murder, they say they finally have some closure.
I'm glad my son got what he deserved, and that's justice.
The mother of 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee expressed relief after hearing the sentence for the two convicted of murdering her son. The two admitted gang members faced the same judge today. Dwight Boone Doty was 21 years old in 2015 when prosecutors say he pulled the trigger, killing Tyshawn Lee execution style. Corey Morgan was also convicted in the shooting after the little boy was lured off a playground into an alley to be murdered. Today, the judge sentenced Doty to 90 years behind bars. Morgan received a 65-year sentence. Despite everything that happened, Tyshawn's family also felt grief for the two.
Happy and sad at the same time. You know, I think this is the first day I thought about the other families, and I feel sorry for their moms and their siblings that's going through the same things we going through despite their actions.
While the family said this does bring some closure, it doesn't change what happened.
We can finally close the book and, try to move past this.
With its heinous and horrific nature. Today's sentencing, in which we see these two defendants, will never be enough. Will never be enough for Tyshawn or his family.
And before reading the sentence, the judge pointed out the cycle of gang violence in the city and said that the vengeance needs to stop. Live at 26 in California, Shannon Halligan, WGN News.
But I guess she don't. She's educated.
Good afternoon, Steve and Dina. Jury selection will begin this afternoon. A group of about 60 potential jurors were escorted upstairs into the courtroom about an hour ago. The judge dismissed them for lunch, but they will be back here ready to go at 1:15 this afternoon. The alleged gunman in this case, Dwight Boone Doty, wanted to act as his own lawyer, but when a judge denied his request for more time to prepare his case, Doty asked for a public defender. Doty and a second defendant, Corey Morgan, will be on trial together, but before separate juries. Prosecutors say in November of 2015 that he lured Tyshawn Lee from a playground at Dawes Park to a nearby alley. They say that's where he shot the fourth grader multiple times, killing him. Prosecutors say it was retaliation, that he killed Tyshawn because the boy's father was in a rival gang. The third man accused in the attack, the alleged getaway driver, Kevin Edwards, pleaded guilty to first-degree murder in exchange for a 25-year prison sentence. We expect jury selection to continue on Monday, and then if all goes as planned, opening statements will start on Tuesday. Reporting live at 26th in California, I'm Kelly Davis, WGN News.
I'll be damn, yo.
Of first-degree murder.
WGN's Julian Cruz was in the courtroom. He joins us live now with more. Julian.
Ben, the case against Corey Morgan involving mostly circumstantial evidence from cell phone records to a witness who says that she heard Corey, he was threatening retribution in an attack against family members. But in a grueling 3-week trial, prosecutors convincing jurors to convict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Corey Morgan, guilty of first-degree murder.
Corey Morgan hearing the verdict, the jury deliberating more than 10 hours to convict him of a shocking murder, what investigators describe as an execution-style revenge shooting in a Gresham neighborhood alleyway in 2015.
I think almost all of us standing here have children, and it takes a toll. It takes a toll on everybody, and the toll on us is nothing like the toll that it took on Tyshawn's family.
The 9-year-old boy's murder said to be revenge for a gang-related shooting of Corey Morgan's mother and brother, weeks before Tyshawn Lee's brutal death. Morgan said to have watched Lee's execution from a nearby SUV.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Dwight Doty, guilty of first-degree murder.
Yesterday, it was Dwight Doty, convicted by a completely different jury. Doty said to be the triggerman, pumping 7 .40-caliber rounds into the boy at close range, according to police. A third co-defendant, Kevin Edwards, the getaway driver, accepting a plea deal before the trials. 2 separate juries selected because defense attorneys for Doty and Morgan blaming each other's clients for the horrific murder.
It was a difficult case, and it's the type of case that we knew it was going to be an uphill battle.
Morgan's lawyers telling reporters at the Layton Criminal Courts building that they plan to appeal.
I think that the evidence about retribution comes down to one comment 3 weeks before this murder through a witness who was anything but credible.
Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox weighing in on this terrible crime which has taken such a toll on the community. We'll hear from her coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. At the Layton Criminal Courts building, Julian Cruz, WGN News.
The boy's father. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ben Bradley.
And I'm Julie Young, in for Lourdes today. The 2 men on trial are the alleged gunmen. Have a look out. The case drew national headlines and put a spotlight on Chicago's problems with gun violence.
WGN's Sean Lewis joins us live from the Cook County Criminal Courthouse with more. Sean.
Testimony now underway after opening statements earlier this afternoon. 2 defendants and 2 juries in this murder trial for Tyshawn Lee, the 9-year-old, of course, gunned down in Auburn, Gresham in November of 2015. Today, opening statements in the murder trial of accused gunman Dwight Doty and alleged planner Corey Morgan.
There weren't many rules in this feud. The family was off limits. They were untouchable.
Prosecutors telling the jury this afternoon that Morgan planned the execution of Tyshawn Lee, retaliation for the murder of his brother and shooting of his mom, telling fellow gang member Dwight Doty to lure the 4th grader away from a basketball court and kill him. Lee was the son of Pierre Stokes, the rival gang member prosecutors say Morgan believed to be behind the attack on his family.
And when Morgan, Doty, and Edwards fled that alley, they left some key things behind. They left behind DNA. DNA linked to Dwight Doty. DNA linked to Dwight Doty was found on a basketball. A basketball that was lying next to Tyshawn's body.
Morgan's attorney says Morgan cannot be blamed for someone else's actions.
That execution of that 9-year-old boy has to come from one singular...
Now this nigga right here, God damn, he said it with conviction, but it was stupid as hell. Let's go on. No, I can't say stupid as hell. That's where I live. Excuse me. Dumb as heaven.
Really evil person.
And by the way, in hell, they're not here because they suck.
Not from a plan. His killer did so of his own volition and for his own reason. Not at the behest or help of Corey Morgan.
In their opening statement, Doty's attorney said that while their client talked about being involved in the murder while in jail, it was only talk.
Mr. Doty gave into that pressure. That he pretended to be bigger and badder and more ruthless than he actually was in order to survive. Just because someone says something doesn't mean it's true.
Now, there is a third man involved in this case, Kevin Edwards. He was the alleged lookout and getaway driver in the murder. He pleaded guilty to the crime of he was involved with and got a 25-year sentence in this case. Testimony is now underway in this case. We're going to head back up into the courtroom, get the latest for you coming up new at 6. For now, that is the latest here from the Cook County Criminal Courts Building. Sean Lewis.
Now more Straight Talk from Straight Talk.
Who's that?
I sold this guy a wireless contract he doesn't need, and now he's stuck with me for 2 years.
Don't put up with that. With Straight Talk Wireless, get our unlimited plan for just $45 a month, no contract. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart.
The 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee was murdered last November, and hearts broke around the world when prosecutors revealed that he was lured from a park playground, then shot execution style in relation to gang feuds. Tyshawn's father, 25-year-old Pierre Stokes, has been charged with shooting 3 individuals connected to his son's brutal murder. The woman that was shot allegedly by Stokes was identified as Corey Morgan's girlfriend. Morgan is currently in custody awaiting trial for the murder of Tyshawn Lee. The 2 men standing with Corey's girlfriend reportedly was not seriously injured, a Chicago policeman commented. Mr. Stokes, who was involved in the gang lifestyle, ultimately suffered an unspeakable loss with the calculated execution of his son. He continued. Despite this, he continued to engage in the same gang activity that started this initial cycle of violence. Earlier this month, there was another arrest in connection with Lee's murder. Police say that Dwight Bone Dodgy was the trigger man in this shooting. It's true that Black Lives Matter, but not just when Black people are being shot by whites. We must encourage each other to remember that one of the number 1 causes of Black deaths in America is Black on Black crime. So you...
Exactly.
At one point, Doty set up a surveillance of Tyshawn's grandmother so he could kill her in order to draw out rival gang members. He also stated that his original plan was to torture this child by kidnapping and cutting off his fingers and his ears. On November 2nd, 2015, Doty and the same 2 co-defendants were seeking further gang retaliation when they arrived at Dawes Park at 80th and Damon. They eventually saw 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee, who was in the play lot at the park. Tyshawn had gone to the swing set his basketball down, and was playing on the swings. Morgan and the 3rd defendant left the play lot and drove away in an SUV, and Doty stayed behind in the playground area. Doty then picked up Tyshawn's basketball and began dribbling it a few times before giving it back to Tyshawn. He then asked the child if he wanted to go to the store, When Tyshawn said he didn't have any money, Dodie told him he would buy him whatever he wanted. Tyshawn and Dodie were then seen walking off together out of the park and into a nearby alley. Once they reached the middle of the alley, Dodie took out a gun and shot Tyshawn multiple times at close range. This defendant was facing the child when he shot him. He later made statements that he had,
Excuse me,
and
I got a question.
Seen that in his head. And Shorty, he was like he couldn't take it no more.
I got a question. Isn't execution style when you shoot him in the back of the head?
Huh?
Don't you put him on their knees and shoot him in the back of the head? Ain't that execution style?
Yeah.
So how is 7 shots at the person standing up execution style?
I don't know.
I
would think that would be
the execution style, right? I'm just saying.
Shorty couldn't take it no more, unquote. This defendant also later stated that after he murdered Tyshawn, he wanted to go back to the park and shoot it up. The police, unfortunately, the police were already there, and he couldn't go back, and he should have killed all the kids in the park. This defendant also stated that he had been working on a rap song in which he talks about his killing of Tyshawn Lee.
Thank you.
As you know, I have been a prosecutor here in Chicago for nearly...
Yeah, that's nice. But, why was he trying to work on a rap song? Was he trying to be the next 10K on the run for the race? Man, these niggas in these rap songs boasting about these murders, man, but I guess, you know what I'm saying, you gotta catch that fame, gotta clout cheese any way you can. But, let's end this video with, yo, fuck the Black Lives Matter. All lives matter. None of this bullshit should even be a thing. None of this should be popping. It's just a devilish circle. And please stop mentioning Satan and all of that when y'all do crazy shit. It's on your own merit. You're your own person. None of these entities have anything to do with the way you act. You might believe it hard enough, but it's not true. So let me end this video off with, yo, man, rest in peace, Sean Lee, man. Fuck, man. Fuck. It's just stupid. Well, not in this case. Because,
yeah.
To be honest, I don't mean to be a dick. Y'all gonna be mad. But most of this shit with the rappers is their fault. Let me break it down slightly for y'all real quick. My nigga Josh Say, rest in peace, love you, boy. That nigga, he shouldn't have been GPSing and telling everybody what the fuck he had. He got too much money. He should have been more protective. I know he was the real nigga. He like to hop out and play basketball with niggas. But you gotta understand, once you make that amount of money, once you get that amount of fame, once you get that amount of notoriety, you have enemies that you don't even know of. So you must protect yourself from the unknown variable. It's like algebra. And then we gotta go to my nigga Mac Miller, man. Depression and mental illness can make a nigga accidentally overdose on purpose. Mental illness is a bitch. And then we go to Juice WRLD. That nigga was just, like I said before in the Juice WRLD video, he was either a pawn, it was set up by the feds, or he was a mule, or he just knew he had too many drugs. Also, because he got sued twice and he didn't have that kind of money. Me and you, normal people, would be like, well, that's not enough to start selling drugs. But when you have, let's say, 4 million, and you lose 3 of that million, it's different than when you broke in the ghetto. So let me just end this video by saying, rest in peace, Sean Lee. Fuck the killers, man. All this gay violence need to stop. We need to love each other. Man, impeach hate, not Donald Trump. And this your girl, sometimes your boy, Charlotte, Carolina, man. Y'all need to stop this bullshit on Satan. Let's go, blood. I'm out.